Hello guys, welcome back to Codeforces channel. Today we are officially launching our competitive programming series by throwing down a legendary problem, Ilya and Queries. We aren't just going to type out the solution, we are going to treat this like a discrete math problem and mathematically prove how to optimize it. By the end of this video, you will understand how to use a pre-processing technique called Prefix Sum to solve all type of this problem. And yes, that's it guys, let's solve it together. Okay guys, as we can see here, this is the question, Ilya and Queries. Ilya the lion wants to help all his friends with passing exams. They need to solve the following problem to pass the IT exam. You got a string s equal to s1, s2 until sn, which n is the length of the string, consisting only of character dot and hashtag and m queries. Each query is described by a pair of integer li and ri, which we have this range for li and ri. The answer to the query li and ri is the number of such integer I, which I is bigger than equal to li and smaller than ri. That si is equal to si plus 1. Ilya the lion wants to help his friends, but is there anyone to help him? Help Ilya solve the problem. So we have our input here. The first line contains a string s of length n, which we have this range for n. It is guaranteed that the given string only consists of character dot and hashtag. The next line contains integer m, and we have this range for m, the number of queries. Each of the next m lines contains the description of the corresponding query. The ith line contains integer li and ri. Output. Print m integer, the answer to the queries in the order in which they are given in the input. So actually we have this question here, and now we want to somehow solve this problem. For solving this question, actually we have actually the first thing that's coming in mind is that we actually first give our string as input, and after that give n, which give us the number of queries that we have, and after that for each part of the query we will receive li and ri, and we start somehow to use from brute force solution here, which we can use from li and ri in each part and iterate over our string to check that if si is equal to si plus 1, and we can initialize a counter, and in which case that si is equal to si plus 1, we can somehow increase the counter here, and finally output the counter for each query that we have here. So if we want to code this actually question here, we can start like this. We must actually first initialize s, which is a string here. After that we must receive it as an input, so that's for it. After that we must initialize n, and after that we can receive n as input. Yes, it will become like this, and after that we must initialize a loop which starts from I is equal to 0, and until a is smaller than a we must increase it. So yes, it will become like this for this part, and after that inside our loop here we must initialize a counter which at the first step is equal to 0 actually in each loop that we iterate here. After that we must initialize L and R, and we can receive them as input here, so it will become like this. After that we can somehow initialize another loop like this, int j is equal to 0 until that int j is equal to l minus 1, because we want to iterate from li until ri, and we know that li are number, and because of this reason that C++ is 0 index base, we must decrease l for one step here. So j is equal to l minus 1, and after that until that j is actually smaller than r minus 1, like this, we must increase it, so it will become like this. And after that inside this loop, whenever actually sj is equal to sj plus 1, we must increase the counter here, so it will become like this. And finally we can show the output here, which is our counter. So it will become like this, and yes, it is correct, and I must add return 0 in this part for our main function. And yes, actually this is the actually our first solution for this question, and if we want to check it, we must run it first. So if we want to actually run the inputs, so we have this input here, and based on our actually input and output, this is correct for this part. So if we want to actually submit our code, we must copy it here, and after that the question is 313B, and in source code part we can paste it. So if we submit it here, actually we must wait for the verdict here. It will actually work until yes here, and test case number 10, and we have time limit error here. So what is the point that we have here? Let's check it out. For the source code that we write here, if you take a look at this part, we have actually nested loop here. In the first part, actually in this line, for int I is equal to 0 until I is smaller than a, we must increase it. Here we can run this actually loop for, actually we can say that n time, and for the inner loop, in the worst case, it is can be equal to n again, because li and ri are a range for our actually we can say input. So it in the worst case, if we want to mention it here, the time complexity of our code can be equal to, actually can be equal to n power of 2. And the space complexity, because we don't use any extra space here, it will become, actually space complexity will become equal to O1. So this is the actually time and space complexity for the first code that we write here, but we can somehow change our code. So if we want to change our code here, we must use a technique that we call it prefix sum. So how we can use from this technique? This technique says that like this question here, we have an actually we have a string, and every time we want to iterate over our string, and in every part we want to check the same condition, si is equal to si plus 1. So we have this condition. So in the first step, if we receive our string as an input, we can make an array for ourselves, and after that start to iterate over our string from the first part, and in each step, if si is equal to si plus 1, we can increase the number in the actually equivalence home in our array that is equal to si. So if you want to show you this part, let's delete this code here, actually until this part. Yes. So here we have our string, and we receive it as its input, and after that we have n, and we receive it. After that we can use from this part. We must initialize it, that is equal to s.size, which is the size of our string here, and after that we can initialize a counter, which is 0 in the first step. So here, after that, we must initialize another array here. And this is the most important part that we have. We must initialize this array, and in the first step, all of the arrays, our arrays house is equal to 0. So we must initialize it like this, and after that, we can initialize our loop here for int I, which actually we can say that is I is equal to 1, because we know that we want to actually start from the first step in our string, and we must check it with the next, actually the previous one that we see here. So it will become like this in this step, actually, which I is smaller than s dot size. So it will become like this, and after that we must increase the I. So that was the part here, and in this part here we can actually, for every step we must actually somehow initialize the step, or better I say the house that we are in it, equal to the last house. So we must initialize it like this, ri minus 1. Yes, it will become like this. Sorry. Yes, it is good. After that we must actually initialize our condition here. If si is equal to si minus 1, actually we must increase the i's house in our array. So it will become like this. And after that actually we can start to solve the actually question that we want to solve it. So in these steps here we initialize n, so here we must initialize our actually we must say that loop, which is int I is equal to 0, I is smaller than a, we must increase it. So we must initialize int l and r, and we must receive them as input. So it will become like this. And after that actually the array that we initialize here will keep all of the pairs that are si is equal to si plus 1 until this house. So if we want to calculate the final question for each query, we can somehow use from this subtraction here, r, which l is l minus 1, actually minus r again l minus 1, and I must modify here r minus 1. And yes, this will give us the actually, yes, it will become like this, and it will give us the final answer that we need. So if I want to come back to the question, so this is the question, and if we want to check our code here, we must back here and run our code in this part. So we must wait until, yes, it runs, and if we wait a second, and yes, it will give us the correct answer here. And if you want to submit this code, again we will copy this code and go to submit part and submit it here. And yes, we must wait for the final answer, and it will, yes, it is running, and yes, it passed the test case 10 and it accepted. So let's me give you a actual explanation of time and space complexity for the new code that I write here. For new code, in the first step, we use from a loop here, which it will iterate over actually size of our string, and it will in every step it's change the actually our array's house to a new number. So we can say that we have n, which is equal to size of our string here. And after that, in this part, we use from another loop, which it will run for actually n time. And if we want to actually calculate the final time complexity for this code, it is equal to, for this new solution, yes, it is equal to time is equal to O n plus m, which n is our input, and m is equal to size of our string here. Yes, and for actually space complexity here, we initialize an array here which is equal to size of our string. So again, the space complexity will become equal to actually O of M. Yes, like this. And if you look at this part here, and if we want to compare these two solutions that I write for this question here, we can compare that. In the first actually solution that we write here, our time complexity is big O of n power 2, and in the second question our time complexity is equal to O n plus m. So it is much better in the second actually solution that we write. But in the space complexity, in the first solution, somehow we sacrifice the time for having a better space complexity here, which is equal to O1. And in the second solution, we must initialize an array which is equal to size of our strings. So our space complexity will become OM. And yes, that was the answer for Ilya and Queries question in the Codeforces. Actually, I hope guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot of things for exam. I don't know, for your contest in Codeforces, or maybe you're becoming ready for ICPC contest, which is really important. If you like it, you can like this video and subscribe to my channel and write your idea in the comment part. And yes, that's it guys. Have a nice day guys. Goodbye.